Hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the homework helper for section 1.8. Today what we're going to be looking at is we're going to be looking at filling in some sequences and doing more work with recursive and explicit equations. The first section is asking simply about common ratios. We know that common ratios mean it's going to be a geometric sequence. And geometric, of course, means that we're multiplying or dividing each term. So that's what we know we're looking for. So when I look at number 1 here, I'm already looking for either multiplication or division as I go from one term to the next. So I see I go from 2 to 4 to 8 to 16. And if you see that quickly, you can see that the common ratio is going to be times 2. But maybe you didn't see that so quickly. Maybe it took a little bit of work. So what we can see here is we know that 2 times our common ratio will equal 4. So what we can do is we can set up a little equation. I can say that 2 times my common ratio is going to equal 4. And from that I can figure out what my common ratio is. I can divide by 2, so that I just have common ratio equals 4 divided by 2, which is 2. So that's just another way we can do it, especially when we look at something like this, where we end up with these decimals. So I'm not going to solve it for you, but I'm going to set it up for you. All we have to do is look at any two terms. I like the first two because they're right next to each other. And I know that 10 times my common ratio is going to equal 5. And from that, we can figure out what our common ratio is by dividing by 10, and then simplify that, and you'll have your common ratio. Next, we're going to be doing pretty much the same thing, except it's asking us to kind of push ourselves and think about recursive and explicit. Now, for this section, it could be either geometric or it could be arithmetic. So we need to know both. Okay? We need to know both the recursive and explicit forms of those. So let me just give you a quick little refresher. For arithmetic, recursive, we know that f of x equals f of x minus 1 plus our common difference. And for our explicit, we know that f of x equals the common difference times x plus our 0 term. And that's what the n sub 0 stands for. For geometric, it is slightly different. For geometric, recursive, we know that f of x equals f of x minus 1, but this time we multiply by our common ratio. And for explicit, we know that f of x equals our first term times our common ratio to the x minus 1 power. Or as some of the examples today showed, it could be the 0th term times our common ratio, but in this case only the x power. So it's either one of these or. But typically this is the one we want to use. So when I look at table 1, I have to figure out, is it arithmetic or geometric? Am I adding and subtracting, or am I multiplying or dividing? So from here, 5 to 7, that could be plus 2. And sure enough, I see that, yes, it is plus 2. So this will be 11 and 13. So I know I'm already in arithmetic. So my recursive is f of x equals f of x minus 1. And all I have to do is add 2. I just need to add my common difference. The explicit's a little bit more complicated, but not that much harder. My common difference, which is 2x plus my 0th term. Now I have my first term. I don't know what my 0th term is, so I have to kind of work backwards. If I'm adding 2, well, 5 minus 2 would be 3. So I know that my 0th term is 3. And that's how we find the answer. Go ahead and turn the page. And here we are writing equations for the given line. And it wants us to write it in y equals mx plus b form. Now, when it's asking for y equals mx plus b form, it's important to know what's going on there. In this case, y equals mx plus b. Well, we know that m is our slope, which is rise over run, otherwise known as our change in y over our change in x between 2 points. And our b is our y-intercept, or where it crosses the y-axis. So when I look at this, first thing it asks me to find is my m, to figure out my slope. To find my slope, I need to find where it crosses exactly. So I see right here it crosses, it's right on that hash mark. Here it's right on that hash mark. And that's really it. So I need to do my rise over my run. So as I read left to right, I have to go up 3. So I rise 3, and then I run 1. So I know that my slope is rise over 1, which is 3 over 1, which is simply just 3. That's my answer. And now I need to know what my b is, and my b is my y-intercept. And what does that mean? Well, this is my y-axis, so all I'm looking for is where does it cross this y-axis, and I see it crosses right here at 2. So I know that my y-intercept is 2. So to write the equation, all I have to do is write this, y equals, except I substitute in for m, 3x, and I substitute in for b, plus, 2. And that's it. I'm all done. Found my slope, I found my intercept, and I was able to write my equation. So that should be enough to get you through today. It's only 12 problems, not that much. I'll see you tomorrow, and good luck on the rest.